Hey YouTube, this is Nash Taters. Welcome back to another episode of War of the Visions. Today I would like to continue the tradition of reviewing units. And before, I used to review units pretty much simply reading off their skills from web pages and really didn't have access to those units. And now that I have access to a little bit more level 99 units, I think it's time to review some of those units that I have not done before. And today we're going to be reviewing one of the Final Fantasy Tactics units. But before we do that, let's do a summons and then we'll get into the depth of how that unit actually works out for me. Let's go ahead and do it. So let's begin the video with the summons. Again, we're not going to go ahead and comment on anything about what unit I want or I don't want. I think the only thing I maybe are going to be going after will be Diablos. I don't think I have him. No, I know I don't have him. But that is not happening, so. Of course, unless this changes. And by the way, since you guys saw that this was going to be gold and now it is blue, it will not turn to a rainbow. Okay, we're just going to skip. See, I was right. Okay. Sometimes I hate to be right in those situations. Of course, in the back of my mind, I was hoping to turn a rainbow. Alright, so today's review video is going to be on Mustadio, my favorite unit that I love to use when I used to play Final Fantasy Tactics. Because of the fact that he was a range unit, and he had that skill called Seal Evil, and there was also a skill where he could actually immobilize enemy units so they don't get near me. Obviously, he has all of those in this game, and today we're going to be talking about just how good he is, or perhaps how bad he is. So his main job is a machinist, ranger is his sub job, and of course thief is his other sub job. As you can see, I'm a big advocate of trying to get your jobs finished, and I didn't do that because obviously been busy doing different things in the game. And this week I'll hopefully finish him off with the... Actually, isn't it today? Today's Thursday, yes! So today I'll take the opportunity and go ahead and finish him off with all of his jobs. Let's take a look at his abilities. Obviously, I got most of it done with the exception of the thief ones. Right now, I don't need him to be a thief for me since he doesn't really require to do it. He doesn't have steel heart, which kind of like makes him somewhat useless in that sense. But at the same time, most likely I will never be using him for a thief other than unless I want to steal time. I guess steal time is good, but steel heart is where I really want him to shine. So I think for raid purposes, a steal time would be very good. But that remains to be seen if earth is something we need to be using later on in the future. Just to show off some of his skill sets, actually I have Sealed Evil maxed out, Arm Shot maxed out, which is the Disable one. I think in this game, Disable is a little bit more powerful than Immobilize. I think most people can concur that Immobilize is actually not very good in this game because of the fact that the maps are generally speaking very, very small. I did actually do some steal time just in case I need to use some steal time on some bosses and whatnot. And I'm going to show you my build now. Currently I have him on Ranger's Lore, which will increase his range and accuracy. And I think ultimately that's what you want him. You want him to be shooting as far as possible and landing as many hits as possible. Next up, I want to give him more range and then perhaps give him some jump, maybe give him some elevation advantages in certain maps in which he can climb and kind of start raining down the hellfire, as you will, on enemies. I do have him on sub-ability Machinist. I think in the future, maybe I'll switch to Ranger for perhaps arena purposes, and Thief obviously perhaps for raiding purposes. I do have him on Reflex, which I think is one of my favorites, as a chance of evading all attacks, which you can't argue against, that is not bad. Alright, so let's talk about his skills as a machinist. Power Shot. It inflicts blind, which can be somewhat useful in situations, but for the most part, blind isn't really that powerful. Safeguard is where you can significantly raise his debuff resistance of allies within area. This is actually pretty good, especially in arena, since the bulk of fighting, a lot of times enemies defenses like to turn on their debuff skills. Quick Shot is basically your triple hit shot. It is really good if you add it up with, say, Lucia to really kind of do some chaining. And I think this will work really well with other shooters, I guess, range units. Multi-burst deals damage to targets within range. This is very nice too because it is an AoE effect that shoots from a range. But so far I've seen the damage is kind of okay, not super powerful. Sealed Evil I think is where he truly shines. One, this is a large damage, as you can see, really good range, and then of course inflicts Petrify. Now Petrify pretty much is a one-shot KO to any unit that becomes petrified. Unless an enemy defense has some sort of defense against this, most likely if I can petrify one enemy unit, they're pretty much out of combat. Let's take a look at Machina's sub ability. Leg shot we talked about, I don't like immobilize. Arm shot is where it shines. It's a medium damage, inflicts disable. Very, very strong. Anytime you have an entire team that just disables, your enemy unit just gonna walk around and wonder like an idiot. Camouflage decreases the chance of being targeted. Obviously this is more of a PvE situation, so it's not going to be very useful in arena and or PvP. Okay, let's talk about Ranger just a little bit. Sharpshoot is the guaranteed hit, but it only does medium damage. Kind of bread and butter against evasion teams, if you will. But since Mustadio is an MR unit, his damage tends to be outshined by other units who are of UR quality, like Lucia and Frederica. Poison Arrow has a chance to inflict poison. Again, more of a PvE situation where enemies have a lot of high HP, and especially high-end content like the tower. So actually this, in my opinion, is pretty good. And poison is based off of their actual HP percentage, I believe. So I think this is actually very, very good. Vigilance significantly raises own evasion. Obviously this is very good. And lowers own elemental resistance to all attack resistance. Obviously that's very bad. But evasion is kind of a gamble system as is, so if you don't get hit, it doesn't really matter if you have low resistances. However, if you do get hit, chances are you're probably gonna die. Charge, just your typical basic move really. Supercharge, okay, so your souped up version. It's kind of like you go to McDonald's, you want to supersize your meal. Well, this is what that is. Unfortunately, it isn't really super because it's just medium. Barrage deals medium damage to targets. This one obviously, as you can see, has a humongous range in terms of area effect damage. So this actually is something I want to test out later on and see how much damage does it do, because this is actually can be significantly good if you're facing a large amount of enemies. Bear in mind, most of his abilities as Mustadio Machinist increases accuracy. So I think that may actually do really well against harder enemies, such as like those annoying thieves in the towers and whatnot. As I mentioned before, Thief isn't really a job that I really use that often, but I did try to get him prepared for raiding purposes and or harder content that requires stealing time of a boss. Snipe Dagger is really good. It has a chance to inflict confusion. Confusion is kind of like a hit or miss. Your enemy is kind of wandering around doing random things. They have a chance to hit their own team, or they have a chance to hit your team. So it's kind of like a gamble. Steel Vision obviously lowers accuracy. I don't really see this as too useful most of the time, because even when I have it maxed out in my thieves, main job thieves, I still see the enemy hitting me. So I don't know if this is actually that great. Steel obviously is not very useful anymore, since I'm at a point where my account really don't need to be stealing many things. I think Mug or even Venera's pillaging damage skill is much better than a simple steal. So here we are looking at his stats. As you can see, 1400 almost. Now bear in mind, I do not have him fully powered up in terms of job level, so this might increase just a tiny bit. Magic, not too shabby, but we don't really need him to use magic. Attack is not very high, so unfortunately he will not be doing super much damage. But Dex is kind of where he shines in terms of, I believe that adds to damage. At least in most games I ever played in my life, Dex always adds to range damage. Also adds to accuracy. His agility, he's actually pretty fast at 64. Base, Bravery, I have him at 97. Faith, I have him around 70 for the sake of trying to inflict the Petrify and or Disable. Move, as you can see, his typical base 3. And then jump, he has additional 1 because I gave him the added support skill. Luck, pretty good, 174, helps dodge, and it actually helps accuracy as well. Gun, hat, clothing, accessory. He is a little bit weak to slash, so you might want to give him some cards in case he does engage with enemy units that he takes less damage from slash. He is actually quite strong to silence, immobilize, and or disable. So makes him pretty good overall. I think he's more of a supporting unit. Since his damage is pretty lackluster, I think the bulk of his skills are status ailment effects. And in Arena, maybe he's not that useful because of the fact that you only have so many turns. Chances are, once both teams engage, most of the time people are going to die off fairly quickly. And because he isn't very fast in terms of against some of the other units like Venera, and on the top of the fact he doesn't have humongous survivability in terms of defense and hit points, maybe he isn't going to be that one unit that you want to take in terms of damage. However, he will be a very good unit if you have a very solid tank and or another unit that can distract enemies. Perhaps 1.5 tank, like a tank and a bruiser, and then he can stay in the background and just starts petrifying enemy units. As one really powerful YouTuber who's making content for World Visions said, generally speaking, a unit plays well according to how their master ability is built. So in this case, his accuracy is increased by 30, raises activation rate of blind, immobilize, and disable. So I think the game wants you to use him as a status ailment character. Trust Master reward. The burst Basrudio. Great name, by the way. HP, man, not so impressive. Accuracy, wow, 18. Attack, okay, 100. Crit, pretty decent. Evasion down, granted. I think this is where, again, high accuracy, lots of status ailments. He's really good against some of those pesky ninjas. Alright, before I take him for a spin, let's go ahead and turn off certain skills because this is the route I want him to be doing. I want him to be raising this so he can increase some AP, so I'm going to go ahead and turn off Power Shot for the purposes of questing. And I want Safeguard to be on. I want Quick Shot to be actually on for the point of if he does use it, we want to see how much damage he does. Multi-burst, same thing, we'll keep it on. We'll keep Seal Evil on as well. And then for his sub-job, let's see what we can turn off. Leg Shot, definitely turn off. Aim Shot, we want to keep on. And then Camouflage, we want to turn off. Okay, so as you can see, we're going off right now. And I have him set up on the Agility card. And right off the bat, he inflicted blind. Damage was not too shabby, actually. So one thing I noticed about this stage in particular is it's very well designed, right? It's obviously sort of at this Japan backdrop and you're fighting these ninjas. Hopefully they can implement more of these type of stages because I love them. I'm really in love with this stage. The bamboos, the little tiny little artifacts, the little sheds. Overall, in my opinion, this is definitely one of the best stages they ever designed for this game. I think my other units are doing a lot more work than I want them to. I might have to actually manual this. Because all the enemy units are getting killed off before Mustadio can shine. Seal Evil, yes! That was the whole reason why I'm doing this. There we go. We got one guy out of the way. He's sealed. He is forever sealed. So as you can see, the damage is not too bad, but really I want him to be doing Seal Evil. Let's cast some buffs. I believe in you. Yes, I truly believe in you. And agility. Okay. More agility. And let's kill my favorite unit, Zazan, and then we are done with this map. Let's see what he does now. Okay, that damage wasn't too bad, and if you notice, he's earth and Zazan's water, so there's no elemental differences there. But 1600 actually is pretty solid damage. Wow, they're really killing my Warrior Blight. That's okay, he has a full heal. Okay, as you can see, that was his... Well, no, that was just the Esper. I probably should have removed the Esper. That was not very good damage. And that's it. Alright, now that you saw him in action a little bit, in the future I'll probably be doing some arena videos highlighting him. Right now I'm pretty high ranking, so I don't think he's going to be ready for arena. But I think next week, maybe Tuesday, or something like that, I can start featuring him in some of my arena battles because some of those enemy units are not going to be quite as strong as where I am today much later in the week. But here are my final thoughts. I think he's a great unit. He is going to be pretty much the king of status ailments for now, and I think he's going to be really excelling in the tower and content that he can quickly remove an enemy unit from combat by simply petrifying them. I think he's also going to be good in arena because he does have really good speed, and the fact that he isn't as fast as some of the other powerful units in this game in terms of speed, that will keep him in the back line where he belongs, shooting enemy from a long range. And I think what I can also do is adjust his speed by giving him the other sub abilities in which it can boost up more of his agility. So in other words, he's highly flexible in what you want him to do. As you saw, some of his damage actually quite reasonable for what he's supposed to be doing as a range unit. Generally speaking, most range units don't do as much damage, perhaps say as magic dealers or in slash attackers. And I think that's fair because of the fact that they have such a long range that enemy units needs to close the gap. I don't think it's fair if range units can doing like 5,000 damage from a range, one shot KO you every single time. But that being said, I think Lucia is actually quite powerful in terms of damage. So in terms of damage, he's definitely not one of the best. However, he is quite useful as a supporting unit, especially clear Heartland content. So for that, I'll give him a solid 9 out of 10, believe it or not. And also probably a little skewed there because I love this unit and I've always loved this unit. I hope you enjoyed this type of video because I know I hate to simply read off things off of paper and not be able to show you them in action. Now that I have access to more level 99s, hopefully I could do more reviews in the future. And I think I might have to hold off some of the lower rarity units in terms of reviews because I don't want to spend my rainbow fragments of thoughts on them now because of the fact that we are going to hopefully get those stones sooner than later. My guess is going to be Christmas. And at that point, there's still going to be a lot of beginning players. There's going to be a lot of players who have questions of whether or not they should be building certain lower rarity units. So in the meantime, I think what I'll do is try to feature some of the units that have powered up to level 99 in terms of UR. And hopefully that will help some player base. If not, even if I can reach out to one person, I think I've done my job. That's all the time I have for this video. I want to thank y'all for the continuous support. Remember, time's your most valuable resource. Spend it wisely. And as always, take care of yourself and all your loved ones. Nash Taters and his family out. Peace.